Crow. Friend, ally, guardian. A lot has happened with him over the last year and a half, and today we're going to discuss his journey and why I absolutely love what Bungie has done with the character. Welcome back to another Embrace Destiny video. Kaz PhD here. It's been a while, but like Crow, I've been busy. With Season of the Haunted well underway, and with the first 2 weeks focusing on what I feel is a resolution of Crow's first and main character arc, I wanted to take some time to talk about him, about his journey, show my appreciation for the writing here, and also provide all of my opinions on the character. For those jumping into Destiny 2 late, or maybe you missed a few seasons, let me quickly refresh you on Crow's journey. During the Forsaken expansion, Aldrin Sov, brother to Queen Mara, killed our Hunter Vanguard, our friend, Cade 6. There's a lot to this story, but basically, Cade went out on patrol, got surrounded and trapped, and Aldrin, along with the help of the Scorn Barons, took him out. It was an incredibly terrible moment for many in the last city, in the tower, and many Guardians went after Aldrin, tearing apart the Tangled Shore until we caught up with him and ended him. Months later, while visiting Queen Mara's court, Guardians received a vision of Aldrin's body being revived by a ghost. Flash cut to Season of the Hunt, which came with Beyond Light in November 2020, and we learn of a new character, a light bearer who had been working with Spider named Crow. Emerging from the shadows to save Osiris's life, Crow made one hell of an entrance. After learning that Spider was keeping Crow as a servant by placing a bomb on his ghost, we eventually earned Crow's freedom by helping clean up the shore of a new hive threat. Since then, Crow has been working alongside us. In Season of the Chosen, he saves Zavala's life twice, ultimately revealing himself, unmasked, to the Commander. Crow took it upon himself to watch over the Elixir during Season of the Splicer, traded barbed words with Mara in Season of the Lost, and learned a crucial lesson in Season of Risen. Crow has gone on an incredible journey and is one of the most fleshed out, featured Guardians in our entire story. We have watched him grow and change and struggle, win victories and make terrible mistakes for over a year and a half. And when you think about how little we know of other characters, the contrast, the journey, is even more amazing. Season of the Haunted has started, once again, with Crow. Callus is back, and the former Emperor of the Cabal is using his Leviathan ship to try to interact with the Pyramid on the moon. One of the main tools being used and manipulated here are nightmares. Now, you'll notice that I'm flying through this lore, and so many aspects could be the subject of their own video, but I'll do my best to provide you with enough so that we're all on the same page. But remember, the focus of this video is to talk about Crow. That's as much guidance for you as it is for me making this video, keeping myself on track. So, nightmares. Eris wants to cut Callus off from this energy source, and she wants to better understand these nightmares. She has been investigating them for a long time, most notably back during Shadowkeep, when we helped Eris deal with the nightmares of her former fire team. So what are they? Again, a topic for another video, but basically nightmares are a combination of paracausal energy, a combination of the pyramid power and our power, manifesting as people who literally haunt us with our past. Have extreme guilt or shame? Nightmare. Afraid of something? Nightmare. We've spoken about it at length in my community, Discord and Twitch links below, and a few interesting insights have come up. Nightmares appear to have as much in common with the darkness deep sight power that lets you manifest things from the past, but they also appear to be a kind of security system for the pyramid. I've always thought of them as the result of all of that power interacting and combining together. Anyway, Crow. This season, Crow is tackling his nightmare head-on, and we are along for the ride. Before I talk about that, though, let's go back and appreciate how far Crow has come. Bringing Crow into the game was an amazing story twist. Forsaken was so popular and such a controversial expansion, with a lot of heated arguments and feelings concerning Aldrin Sov. He killed one of the most popular characters at the time, the comic relief, the stand-in, one of the most marketed and well-known characters in Destiny. The death of Cayde 6 really created a shift in so many aspects of the game and the community. The Vanguard has been fractured ever since. The Guardian in our story has grown to embrace the darker side a lot more, and characters like the Drifter, Eris, and the Exo Stranger have flourished in Cayde's wake. You could argue that Cayde's death led us to walking the line between light and dark, and depending on your viewpoint, this may have saved us all. If you believe that both light and dark are necessary, and or that dark is a power that we can and should embrace to keep our people safe, you could argue that we were driven there by the dark events of Forsaken. So, all that hatred for Uldren, the focus of an entire year of our story, to then bring a character back with the same voice, the same face, and worse yet, to make him one of us? An immortal guardian? For a lot of people, that stung. That was very tough. In the beginning, Bungie had a single job: convince everyone that Crow is a different person. And I do mean everyone. The players, in-game characters and guardians, even Crow himself had to be convinced that he was a different person if we were ever going to accept him. And he is, by the way, a different person. Crow is not simply a mask of Uldren, but is his own unique person with his own memories, personality, and character. There are connections, and those connections run deep. We'll get back to that later, but Crow is not Uldren. Bungie spent a lot of time and effort to convince us of that. First, the reminder that Guardians are revived without memories of their former life. Then, lore cards, dialogue, and cutscenes showing Crow's perspective and how he approaches things. Even lore cards which featured other Guardians' complete distrust of Crow, one of them going so far in one card to kill Crow and leave him for dead. Bungie utilized the power of sympathy and empathy to really help us see that Crow is not Uldren, and punishing Crow for Cayde's death was short-sighted. And before I go on, if you're still not able to see that, if you're still grieving and still can't look Crow in the face, I understand. I really do. Emotions, even those over fictional characters, are very real, and I'm not here to tell you how to feel. I'm here to try to discuss this character's journey. So, Bungie spent a long time convincing us that Crow is not Uldren. Over the last year, Crow has been used to explore what it means to be a Guardian. Even if you're a new player, the game doesn't always do a good job of explaining what a Guardian is. It's kind of assumed, but it's never fully defined. We become a hero, we become a monster killer, we are called Guardians, but the game likes to keep things open to interpretation. So, over the year, Crow has been learning what it means to be a Guardian. In turn, we have been asking and answering related questions. Why do we follow the Vanguard? Why does the Vanguard act the way that they do? Shouldn't we have a Hunter Vanguard leader by now? Do we need one? Should Guardians go off on their own, or are they better as a team? All kinds of questions have come up through the seasons. During Season of Chosen, Crow began acting independently of the Vanguard, operating in the shadows, overseen by Osiris. Or rather, Savathun acting as Osiris. Even when he was discovered, Crow continued acting in the shadows, as the Vanguard needed time to help the rest of the Guardians adjust to this new Lightbearer. Crow's contention over Uldren Sov continued into Season of the Lost. For the longest time, Crow was fighting that part of himself, wondering why people hated him so much. And as he learned more, he began to piece it together. Whether in denial or not, Crow began to have suspicions, which were confirmed when Savathun revealed his previous memories, those of Uldren. While it's not 100% confirmed how much he retained, how much he gained, and how true those memories are, Crow learned the truth of who he once was and has been struggling to deal with that. Season of Risen resulted in some major controversy and important character moments. Crow, having gained just enough confidence to begin questioning the Vanguard, found himself at odds with how we were doing things. Guardians have been at war for a long time. The ethics of soldiers often work a little differently than civilian life. See a previous video for more on that subject. Crow, being new to things, and having spent the early part of his life being hunted or worse, demonstrates a lot of sympathy for others. He questions why we fight the Scorn, the Elixni, the Cabal, even the newly risen Lucent Hive. While some Guardians cannot understand his questions, Crow often cannot understand other Guardians. Wouldn't the fighting stop if we learned to work together or take different approaches to our enemies? Heck, we stop Elixni from drilling for ether when all they're really doing is just trying to feed themselves. Again, we're at war, but Crow wonders if there's a different way to end it rather than pure violence. Right or wrong, Crow tried to defuse the situation, a move which accidentally killed one of Kayatol's scions and led to Lord Saladin trading his life for Crow's. Rather than a final death, Saladin is now working with the Cabal, and honestly, I think he hasn't been this happy in a long time. As I said, Bungie has worked for a very long time to prove that to everyone that Crow is not Aldrin. Crow is a different person. However, Crow has been tied to Aldrin since his rebirth, and has been haunted by that connection. Cue Season of the Haunted. Eris has been investigating the nightmares, hoping to find a way to fight back or cut off Callus's attempts at power. To do that, she has enlisted our help, and that of Zavala, Crow, and whether she wants it or not, Kayato. Crow's nightmare was easy to identify, and it manifested early. Except, rather than dealing with memories or perception, Crow has literally found himself face to face with Aldrin, or rather a haunting specter nightmare version of him. And Aldrin has not been silent, constantly berating Crow, questioning his every move, making Crow feel small, unworthy, terrible. The nightmare has lived up to its name. At first, Crow and Eris tried to sever this connection, tried to confront the nightmare and banish it or destroy it, but it didn't work. Again, I could make an entire video on this process, and I will if I get the time, but kudos to Bungie for telling a more involved story. The typical move in a video game would be to have the character destroy its enemies, fight the nightmare and win. But that's not what we're doing here. That's also not how grieving and therapy works. Again, topic of another video, but I've been so unbelievably excited and proud of how Bungie has approached this season. Intermixed with all of this magic and sorcery and gunplay has been a story about dealing with guilt, trauma, and shame. And the game has taken the time to acknowledge that and move forward toward peace and healing. How? Well, remember when I said that Bungie has been working to convince us all that Crow is not Aldrin? I said it like 3 or 4 times now. Well, now they've flipped the script. Like it or not, Crow is also Aldrin. And we all need to deal with that. See, it was far too easy for the community, for in-game characters, for Crow himself, to vilify Aldrin, to see him as pure evil. A lot of us have been raging over Aldrin for years, reducing him to simply the snarky evil guy who killed Cade, but that's not entirely true. Aldrin was brave, Aldrin was adventurous. He discovered the Ahamkara, he befriended Elixni. He became known as the father of Fikrul, and, in a way, the grandfather of the Scorn. Aldrin was smart, crafty, a skilled warrior. He was capable of great love, humor, pettiness, sure, but he was a person, not some evil spirit. And like it or not, Aldrin is a part of Crow. At the very least, Aldrin is a part of his past, a comparison point, and the two characters share many traits in common. While it was vitally important that we all understood that Crow is a different character from Aldrin, it is ultimately just as important and a more complete journey and understanding of Crow's character to realize that they are not opposites or separate. They are a part of each other. Again, this is a brilliant move by Bungie, not only because it's a frankly more interesting move, creating nuance and controversy to keep players engaged, but it's also a healthier and more progressive approach. It's so easy in a game, in life, to see everything in terms of black and white, to vilify people and reduce our problems to something we can simply destroy. But the harder path is empathy, compassion. The harder path is learning to accept things and carry them and work toward peace. Yes, this is a video game full of guns and magic, but Destiny is also a game where real issues, ethics, morality, character considerations, even trauma and grief and real emotions can be explored. This is the lesson we've all had to learn, and I'm happy to say that Crow's journey, his main arc, came to a wonderful reconciliation this week. For some of you, it may seem that Crow is the character who just keeps getting thrown in front of us over and over, but Crow has been on a journey, and his journey has continued alongside the game's major events. This week, in the Sever mission, Eris helped Crow realize that acceptance, not denial, was the way forward. Crow realized the truth, that he and Uldren are strongly connected, and he realized this was an opportunity, a source of strength, not a nightmare after all. In a beautiful mission full of dialogue, of self-realization, Crow healed himself. He started the path toward healing himself, toward reconciliation, and his nightmare was changed to something better, something sweeter, a memory. Rather than destroy Uldren, Crow now accepts that part of himself and will carry it forward. I know I'm likely repeating myself here, but this has been an incredible journey. Crow's character has been developed and used to explore many aspects of Destiny and of being a Guardian. Through him, we have questioned the light, the dark, the actions of Guardians. We have found different ways forward, and most importantly, we have learned compassion, respect, and empathy, not only for our former enemies, but for ourselves. While Crow may not be everyone's cup of tea, it is hard to deny the beauty of this story, and the audacity and realized goal of Bungie for not only telling such a beautiful story, but for exploring real issues and themes through it, allowing Destiny to not only become a more interesting game, but perhaps a healthier one. A game where players can explore real problems, but in the comfort of their homes, and one where players may be exposed to a more diverse and nuanced perspective of things. It's why I love this game. More than its fantastic gameplay, Destiny is a world I care about, full of characters I care about, and even the most cynical view I could have of Bungie's motivations still leads me to the conclusion that Destiny is a deep cake, with delicious frosting, yes, but those layers keep me coming back and looking for more. As we look ahead, one big topic of conversation still remains: Crow's future. More specifically, will he become the new Hunter Vanguard? Bungie has teased this many times, with lines of dialogue and lore speculating and commenting on Crow's possible future. I have made several videos on the topic, but here is my take. The Hunter Dare is, number one, not a legally binding contract, and number two, null and void now. The Dare is an honor-bound agreement between two people, and you can't just force such an agreement onto someone. Even if that someone wanted to take up the challenge or the responsibility, it's on them, and it's not some ipso facto legal agreement. It's a bit nuanced and tricky, but basically Crow could become the Hunter Vanguard if A, he wanted to, B, the other hunters in Vanguard supported him. That's it. Not because he is forced to or legally entitled to, but because he chooses to. Even in a normal circumstance, Crow could have refused a dare made if he wanted to. It wouldn't be a good look for him, but he could. And Cade's dare was more of a joke/threat than anything. Maybe it could have been seen as a challenge, a move to make Cade's killer feel responsible and take on leading the hunters, but it's only an obligation if the killer chooses it to be. So please, I don't want to hear about how the dare forces or entitles Crow to anything. It can be an inspiration for Crow, something he rises to the challenge of, but it's not a one-way ticket. As for my opinion, I hope that this season's story will provide Crow the opportunity to become a fully realized character, fully confident and assured and ready to be true to himself without always being seen by himself and others as just Aldrin 2.0. And I hope that Crow continues to be an advocate for those without voices, those we would normally bulldoze over. Destiny may have begun as a first-person shooter, but it has demonstrated that it can be more, and I for one have been really excited about the new allies and more nuanced way of seeing the Destiny universe. And that brings us to the conclusion of this video. What do you think? How have your feelings for Crow grown or evolved over the last few years? Are you enjoying Season of the Haunted? Feel free to leave comments below, and if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can always check out my community stream and Discord, links in the description. Thank you all very much for your time today. As always, I ask that you be safe, be kind, and I'll see you all next time. Bye now.